Welcome to Garden Chatter, where we connect gardeners, bloggers, and experts so we can all grow and learn. I'm excited about tonight's show. We've got a three-generational trio on, although maybe there's just a duo, so hopefully the third member will show up. And we'll be talking about a little bit of history of nurseries and learning about what they're doing at UpshootHort.com. And so I am just excited to have my co-host Bren introduce our guest for tonight.
And hey, guys.
Bren, where are you?
I'm at MSU Conservatory, way up in Michigan. Don't hold that against me. I know we got Buckeyes on tonight. But yeah, look at the beautiful poinsettias in here. It's amazing, and great group of people. I'm at the MNLA, and we're having a great time. But I'm really excited to have Jim and his daughter Maria Zampini on. Everybody knows Jim from the Garden Center events. You're quite the popular, person to talk to. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are up to.
Sure. Well, right now it's the time of year where we're traveling around to trade shows and introducing people to our company if they've never heard of us before, or visiting with old friends and colleagues. And our company is called Upshoot LLC, and we're a boutique sales marketing firm that specializes in new plant introductions as well as gardening-related products. So, we help breeders and plantsmen bring their new plants to market. So we do everything for them, from trademarking and patenting a plant to helping do the marketing, the royalty collection, licensing growers across the United States, over in Europe and Australia, pretty much across the world. So that's the main focus of what we do, and then we do a lot of other little related things as far as lecturing and writing and so forth.
Very cool. And you guys, so now you guys are in zone. You're Ohio. You're in the Cleveland. You get that icky snow effect that comes across. What hardiness zone are you guys in?
What are we now? 5B?
Yes.
Are you 5B? Okay.
And we're 20 yards away from Lake Erie this evening.
Yeah, we're at my parents' house, and right outside we can see the shores of Lake Erie, which is frozen over though right now.
Beautiful. Very cool.
Sure is.
Well, I was a little bit curious. You guys have a long history, and I know Jim is had a lot of experience in the wholesale nursery business. So I was wondering if maybe you could tell us a little bit about some of the, you've moved on from that, but maybe give us a rundown on what you've done in the nursery business.
You want to tell them your history of how you got involved in the nursery business?
Well, it all started with potato peelings.
Potato peelings?
Yeah, kind of odd, isn't it? My mother was peeling potatoes, and she had this pile on the counter, and she said, Jim, if you take these potato peelings outside and plant them, they'll grow potatoes. So with that, I buzzed outside and dug a hole in some very poor soil, and I stuck these in the hole. And of course, being a curious little kid at about 6 years old, maybe 5, I would go out there every few days and scratch the dirt away to see if there were potatoes growing. Well, I can tell you, I harvested potatoes that were about as big as my thumbnail because I pestered them so much. But it proved one thing: if you were serious and really knew what you were doing, you can take potato peelings as long as you had the eyes and plant them and harvest potatoes. So with that, also, I grew up where the largest nursery in the world was. I could go out the back door and go east, north, south, and there were plants. And there were 38 rose growers in the community, and there were roses as far as your eye could see. Well, right next door to us, a distant cousin of ours was raising roses there. So at about 5 years old, I meandered over and I won my first budded rose plants at 5 years old. I didn't do a very good job. So I was bit by the bug very early. And I had the best teachers in the world because every one of the people that worked at this Sorensen Harrison Nursery was an entrepreneur in what he grew. And I worked for almost every one of them at one time or another, so I had the best college teachers in the world.
Yeah, they were probably excited to share their wisdom with a young person that was.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
eventually you started your own nursery, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it really worked out well because even at a young teenager, we had a lot of Hungarians and Italians and other ethnic groups. They were very good growers, but they lacked marketing skills. So it was a good combination. I would get in my little car and I would go until I sold every plant before I would come back home. They loved it and I loved it. And they were great people to work with. I grew up in a community. If every youngster could grow up in a community like I grew up in, we'd have one great America.
Yeah. Well, and Dad, really the nursery, the family nursery was started by his father, my grandfather, and he started it on a 1/4 of an acre of land, and his crop was roses. He found the secret to the propagation of multiflora rose, which is what at that point in time they used as the understock for budding the roses onto. And then from there, when Dad took the nursery over, he eventually grew it to 1,000 acres, and we also had a destination attraction garden center for over 30 years. And of course, research and development, that was his forte. His love was finding and selecting new plant varieties. And and we had a landscape company at one time. I mean, so we've been very, very diversified in what we've done. But in 2009, that's when we started our own business and walked away from the growing end of it because we wanted to concentrate on what we thought we did best, and that was new plant introductions. So.
And we have probably today, if we get them all introduced, it'll be about 300 cultivars we will have brought to the industry and to the consumers.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of patience because you just don't click your finger and it's on the market. There's a lot of steps in the process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have to keep this a little simple. There's just everyday gardeners on here. Tell me, what do you mean by cultivars? Do you mean different varieties? Do you mean?
Yeah, what that means is if you say you have a plant and naturally that plant, let's just say it grows horizontally, and naturally things happen with the birds and the bees, and if you watch, you can have a whole field, and all of a sudden if you keep your eyes open, Dad says if you look down long enough, you're going to see something that looks different, and it occurs naturally, and all of a sudden you'll come along, and in this field of horizontal plants will be something totally vertical. And so it just naturally occurred in Mother Nature. There was some kind of cross that happened, and so you have a new cultivar, a new plant that's a cross of a couple different things. So
very cool.
So if you saw that in in a field, how do you go about getting that? And then are you getting the seed, or are you getting cuttings, or does that just depend on the plant?
Yes, that's a process I believe that we excel at, knowing the history of that plant. It's like the neighbors, if they're the Joneses or the Smiths, they're in your neighborhood, and you can tell that family. Well, that's the same way here. You have to understand each family, and if they like steak or they like ice cream, so you use that understanding that plant, how you're going to multiply it. Mm-hmm. So if it takes ice cream to make it go, we use ice cream. If it takes steak, we use steak. And that's where we are really able to help our licensees. We're 24/7, and that's another relationship builder. And then giving them a lot of advice. We put ourselves in our licensees' shoes, knowing the type of soil, the weather, and their likes and dislikes, and trying to help them to the utmost.
Right. Well, and the thing, it just depends on what type of plant you have. I mean, for instance, if you, you know, a lot of Dad's breeding work, he would have rows upon rows where there had been seed, and he went and sowed the seed. And then again, you just, Mother Nature did her little thing, and you'd dig up those plants and you'd collect seed from them, and then you'd re-sow that seed again into the ground, and you would see what was new or what was different. You can also find them from, if you've gone and propagated a plant by taking just a little cutting, a little tip of the plant, and putting it in soil and starting it to root, and just sometimes things happen, like I said, happen naturally. You know, we're not the white coat people, is the way I put it. You know, there's some people who do breeding work who, you know, I want to cross this plant with this plant, and I'm going to take the pollen from this one and put it on this one, and they're very technical in what they do. We're not like that. We, you know, Dad always says Mother Nature is our breeding partner, and you just have to keep your eyes open and look for something that's out of the ordinary.
Yeah, quoting Dr. Eckhoff from the USDA, before he was killed, he was the greatest plant breeder that I've ever known. And one day he said to me, Jim, what you're doing is actually better than what we're doing here. And I like to fall over when he said that, because they had all the whistles and bells. And he said, no, because what you bring to the market, or before you even start, 50% of the criteria is well covered.
Right.
In other words, hardy, disease resistant.
Right. If it's been Mother Nature tested, you know what I mean? If it's out there and it's still alive, and I'll give you an example. You know, Dad did some work with dogwoods, and you know, he originally started out with a stand of, I don't know what, 70 or 70 some, and irregardless of what the number was, it started out with a big number, and then we had the 1977 and 78 freezes that were really bad that wiped out a lot of it. So we knew, okay, the 10 or 12 that were left were really proven hardy, you know, and so then he made a selection out of that smaller group. So that's how, I mean, it's Mother Nature tested.
You know, what Maria's talking about is the Chinese dogwoods. At one time, they were not hardy in this area. And then after they came here, a great plantsman, Jacques Legendre from Gulfstream Nursery in Virginia, he suggested that I work with them. And we actually planted 60,000 out to the fields, and then that freeze that Maria's talking about, we ended up with 136 plants, and then we narrowed it down to 9 plants, and then we narrowed it down to 2 plants. So you see, you have to go through an awful lot, even the seeds that we plant. The goal was to find one plant to test out of 100,000, and then usually that didn't pass, so you narrow that down from the one out of the 100,000. So it takes a lot to get that particular plant.
Yeah, and then too, it takes a long time to bring a plant to market. I mean, just think about what we've talked about, how long you get till you select one. Well, then you have to propagate that plant, and you have to get them ready for sale to make it to the consumer. And shrubs or perennials or annuals are fairly quick. The propagation method, it can be anywhere from a year or less than a year to a couple years to get plants to market. When you're talking a tree, though, oh my, we're talking years. So
a tree that's 25 years old is considered brand new.
Yeah, because it can take that long to get it to market. So
sure. How fun! You must have had fun growing up, Maria.
Actually,
did you get
truth be told, I hated the nursery. I hated being out there. I didn't want to be out there. I didn't like it. It was hot, and who wanted to be out there in the middle of summer doing stuff? But funny things happen, and you never know what life's going to bring you. So
Yeah. So when did you find yourself back into horticulture?
I think probably I've worked in propagation and inventory at the nursery and the office, and then probably when I went to work at our retail garden center, when I was in high school, that was probably kind of like the turning point for me. I mean, I really liked it. And then I decided to go to school for it. I didn't know what else I was going to do with my life, and so it seemed the natural thing to do. So I went on and got my degree at Penn State and came back and haven't left ever since.
I have to tell you the true story. She actually started working in the nursery when she was just about that high, and that means she was about 7 years old, and we had the containers near our house, and I said, Maria, today you have to put the fertilizer pill on this many plants. Well, from the sun and the sweating, she would be red and crying. Her mother, her aunts would come over and help her put the fertilizer pills on, so she would only have to be out there a couple hours and come back in. So she got the acid test at an early age.
Yeah.
Before that, she would go with me in the evenings while her mother read it up after dinner, and she would go out with me to cut cuttings for the next day for us to stick. So she used to ride in this big truck, and she would stand there and shift it in a big old dual-wheel truck. So she had her little bib overalls on.
Right. Now, how old were you when you were doing that?
Her?
Yeah, when were you driving?
Marie was about 4 years old at that time.
I love that. See, that's the cool thing. City folks don't understand what farm girls get to do. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, my mom taught me to drive when I was, 13 or 14.
Yeah.
I drove all over the nursery and everything.
Got to get it done.
That's right. That's right.
Go ahead.
We had fun all the time. Still do.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fantastic way to grow up. I was just wanting to remind anyone that is a viewer, if you want to join the conversation and leave a comment or question, go ahead and click right through the screen that you're looking at, and then look in the upper right-hand corner. There should be a little 3x3 grid, and you click that, and you should see a little Q&A box to click, and then you'll get a little space to type in, and we'd love to hear from you. So if you get a chance,
I know
go ahead and
I know we have a few new viewers because I was promoting it in the office today when I was helping at the show. And I know there was one lady in particular, Sandy. Hi, Sandy. I know she's watching because she was charging up her iPad. She was going to watch this while she went to dinner with her son. So, awesome.
Oh, very good. Just one little caveat: if you are using an iPad or mobile device, Bren and I found that you can't actually go through and leave questions and comments. That's only on a laptop or PC. So not quite sure why that technology is not dialed in yet. But if you are on an iPhone or something or an iPad, you can watch, but we won't be able to hear from you. I guess you could tweet or go on to the.
You could tweet.
Yeah, we'll try to get to us. Anyway, just quick note on that. I was wondering, Maria, about your grandson, and just talking about this sort of growing up steeped in horticulture and nurseries. How is he feeling about this industry, and is he sort of rebelling away, or is he embracing it?
No, it's funny. Yeah, my son was supposed to be with us tonight. My son Robert, he's my youngest, and but it's funny, neither one of my boys were interested in being involved in the industry, because the nursery took Mom away from them, But as things have kind of gone along, he works part-time for us. He does a lot of the some computer work. We have next to our offices, we have a show garden, a trial garden where we can put out plants and we can observe them, be able to show our plants to visitors that come. They're able to, for photography purposes, for marketing. And so he maintains that garden, and every year him and Dad plant some vegetables in that. And so he's gotten his little taste of vegetable gardening too. But then now it's funny, he just got a job with a company called Grimes Horticulture. They're located here in Paynesville, and they're known in the industry for all of their seeds, and they service a lot of garden centers and mainly growers who grow their own product to sell in their garden centers. So he's now working in their seed department, putting their seed packets together and pulling orders. And so if any greenhouse growers are watching and they get stuff from Grimes and there's a screw up, it wasn't him.
Okay.
But so anyway, he's he goes to trade shows with us. When we go out, we go every year to a big trade show out where Adam is, and in Oregon. It's one of the biggest in the country, and so he goes with us and helps man the booth and do things. So he's getting a lot of real world experience while he either works with Grimes or goes to school part-time.
Oh, very cool.
Very cool.
I was wondering, Maria, if you could tell us what you're up to with HGTV, or is that
sure.
It's top secret? I don't know.
No, it's not a top secret. No, that's fine. Yeah, that's one of my other jobs is I'm the director of plant development for the HGTV Home Plant Collection, and that's a relatively new plant line that just was established in 2012. That was its very first year, was just a very small test year. And so it's my job with them to go out and source all the new genetics for the program and to bring growers on board to grow the product and to work with retailers and garden writers and the like to bring awareness to it. And HGTV Home is how HGTV is bringing their branded product to market. It's a lifestyle brand, and plants is only one segment of it. You also have, furniture with Bassett and carpeting with Shaw, paint with Sherwin-Williams, and a bunch of other things. So you can go, if people want to find out more, they can go to hgtvhome.com, which lists all of the different lines, and then the HGTV Home Plant Collection, and you can see some of the plants that I work with. There's a know-how blog on there, and I help blog and do posts on that as well. So, yeah. So it's exciting. Cool. I'm getting to meet a lot of. It's expanding my base of horticultural knowledge. I mean, it was very much, geared towards shrubs and trees. And even though I knew about perennials and was working with them, it's expanded my knowledge base. So it's been a great experience for me. Big learning curve. I got to learn fast.
Is there new plants you can tell us about that you're excited that's coming out in the spring, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Well, let me think.
I know it's hard to pick just one.
I know it really is hard to pick some things. But we do have, coming from the HGTV Home Plant Collection, one item would be, it's called Peppermint Swirl. It's a hydrangea, and I know you think, oh my gosh, how many more hydrangeas could there possibly be? Well, this one truly is substantially different. It's pink, mop head, and the big flowers, but then it looks like someone took red paint, like with a paintbrush, and just flipped it on the petals. It's got like
cool.
streaks, and then you've got the same streaks happening in some of the foliage. So that's what's happening there. And then we have a lot of other cool stuff that we're doing with Upshoot as far as new plants, and even we try to show people different ways to use plants, even if they've been on the market for a while. I mean, if one of the things is if they go to our website, UpShootHort.com, we on the new plants tab, you can see all the new plants that we represent, and if they click on a plant, click on any of the pictures, and they'll take them to a whole photo album. And two that I'll mention real quick. One would be Snow Fountain's Weeping Cherry, which a lot of people know. It's just that you always see it. It's that mushroom-shaped, white flowering cherry in everybody's yard in the spring. But it's such a versatile plant, and I have so many pictures that show how you can take that plant and you can do so many things with it. It can be a ground cover. You can have it cascade over a wall. It's a great one for doing a espalier along a fence or along the side of a house. You can put it on a trellis, on an arbor, all kind of things. One other one I'll mention is Mr. Bowling Ball Arborvitae. It's just this really cute little round ball. It forms a round ball all on its own. You don't have to do anything to it. And it doesn't break in the snow, but you can also do some other things with it. You can plant it by itself. You can plant it in multiples. Here's one thing I think is cool. You can plant it as a hedge and trim it. It takes trimming really well. And so I know for some people who are in areas where they're afraid of boxwood blight, that's been up there. It could be an alternative to boxwood if you're going to like do a knot garden or something of that nature. So
very cool. Who comes up with these names?
This guy, he comes up with them.
Okay.
He comes up with the names. Yeah, he does. Well, he's always tried to give names that when you say it, it conjures a picture in your mind.
Okay.
And
sure.
So that's kind of the theory behind some of those. You know.
I got a picture, so I'm going to have to look at your website or something to see if
if the picture matches what you say. Huh?
Yeah. Where would we find pictures?
Tell you about 2 plants we're working with and just bringing them to market, just getting them to the growers. And these are 2 brand new sweet gums that are seedless. You know, they throw a seed down there that's terrible.
Well, those big horned balls that you see
Yeah.
in people's yards, but these are seedless varieties. So that's
Okay.
the kind of thing we look for that's different.
And the one plant has gold bark, really
yellow.
gold, beautiful. The dwarf
It's really
one
neat.
should be grafted at 5 feet, and it's a plant that can go underneath the wires or into a
wow.
landscape site.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I am working on now, trying to get all these plants that can go into a very tight landscape site, whether it's round or vertical, and no maintenance.
Yeah, that's some of the things we really look for when we're looking for new plants are things that are either low maintenance or no maintenance. You know, maybe they're more dwarf or compact or upright in nature, and you know, just so makes it really easy and carefree, and things that have more than one season of interest too for the homeowner. Yeah,
it's nice. Get your money's worth, right?
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jim, the one that with and Maria, the one with the yellow bark. What kind of plant was that? I didn't quite catch.
It's a sweet gum.
Okay, so it was
liquid amber.
Yeah, liquid amber. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah. I was wondering a little. Oh, go ahead, Bren.
I was just curious if people want to look at pictures of it. We would go to upshoot.com.
UpShootHort.
H-O-R-T.
Yeah, UpShootHort.com. Yeah, and just click on if they click on the new plants tab, like I said, it lists all the new plants, and they can just scroll right down, and there's a little picture that comes up with each of them. If they want to see some of the writing that I do, I've got a writing tab, and they can, if they want to see articles, both industry or the articles I've written for consumer magazines, they can find them there.
Very cool. Nice.
So do you mostly, well, I guess just thinking in the past too, as far as, did you mostly do ornamentals, or have you been working with vegetables at all? Or also, a side question is, you have a vegetable garden that you have at home?
Yeah, we mainly grew up, you know, professionally we were mainly in ornamentals and in woody plants and shrubs. That was our focus, but we still grew roses and perennials and ornamental grasses at our nursery. I mean, so we grew a wide variety. I mean, our nursery at one time, you know, we did over 1,000 different plants we offered. So it was really, really quite large. You know, as far as vegetable gardening, oh yeah, you know, it's funny how things kind of evolve. Me now, because of my travel schedule, which is pretty hectic, I tend to do more container gardening is what I do, and then with Dad and my son usually do a little bit of a vegetable garden in the ground, mainly at or show garden. But then here at my dad's place, he does a lot of container gardening. But this last year we got a really cool product called a mobile grow gardening cart, which is like this 3-tiered cart. And it's got very deep wells, that you can plant in. And so it was great. He did his whole herb garden, and it's really made for people who are older. No offense, or that have mobility issues. And it's on casters, so you can roll it in and out, And it's
cool.
Even for people who are in like apartments or don't have as much space as they used to. So that was kind of nice to be able to do that this year. So
actually, the herbs grew better in this mobile garden than we've ever had.
Yeah, no, they were
and I think it's because of the uniform heat around the base, the roots, and we gave away more herbs than you take a stick at.
Yeah, there's nothing like growing your own fresh vegetables. There isn't, and even if you can't grow them, being able to go to a farmer's market or wherever to get your own, I think people that don't do it, they don't know what they're missing. I think sometimes it's that's such work, but man, the reward is so good. I mean, come on, there is just nothing like a fresh BLT with bacon and tomatoes dinner time. I mean,
That's right.
Or mom makes this great bruschetta, with the fresh tomatoes and the herbs that dad just loves. So, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Did you blog about that cart anywhere? Like, could we see? Did you share it anywhere?
Curious. What? I'm trying to think if I know I put it on my Facebook page.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I blogged about it, but it's the mobile grow gardening cart.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one? Does it have? Does it sort of reclaim the water when you water
it does. At the bottom. Yeah. It's mobilegrow.com, and I know if you Google it, it'll come up. It's a great product. The inventor is Angela DiMaggio, a friend of mine out of Arizona. And I mean, it's on the market now, and it's very nice, like powder coated metal. I mean, when I brought it home at first. Mom said, she didn't want it. She thought it was going to be this cheap plastic thing. And then once Robert put it together, she was really happy. So we do have somebody who just walked in. He'll just scoot down and say hi.
Hi. Oh, there he is. Hey, Robert.
Hi. Here's the other part of my gratification.
Yeah. Better late than never,
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Well, I'm glad you were able to join us briefly.
Glad to be here.
We were just talking about vegetable gardening, about how you have your little vegetable garden at the office.
Okay. Yeah, yes I do.
Yeah. So.
I'm getting a little worried. There's greenhouses around me, and I see the lights. They must be on timers. They're starting to go down. So if you lose me, that's what happened. Anyway.
Maybe we just did lose you.
Oh, no.
Well, we still hear you, though.
We still hear you.
That's fine. Yeah. Well, before we wrap up for the evening, Gemma and Maria, I was wondering if you wanted to share a little bit of like where you see the nursery industry kind of heading, or some changes that you're seeing. Is there any trends or patterns that you've seen over the years, because you've been in this for a while?
Yeah, right now new plants is still a big differentiation factor, but I think nowadays you really do have to come out with something that's substantially different. It can't just be, this blooms 2 days earlier than the other one, just like it. So it's got to be really something different. I think there's still big opportunities for the independent garden centers to service customers. I think that even if they're located right next to a big box store, they still have the ability to have very unique and different plant lines, depth in what they offer to the consumer. I think those garden centers who do that and who also are marketing savvy to the point of being social media savvy, and connecting with garden writers and bloggers who are in their community, to reach out to those gardeners. I think they have to create a shopping experience for their customers too, because it's certainly different, your experience at a box store versus when you go to the mom and pop. Our garden center, we were known as the popcorn store, because that was one of Robert's jobs growing up as a little kid, was popping popcorn, and we would fill the store with that smell, and everyone got 3 bags of popcorn. And so that's what we were known as, was the popcorn store. But it made people stay longer and shop more, because it kept how many wives would come in and get popcorn and take it out to their husband who were sitting in the car? So, but again, if they can think of things like that, I think the ones who are marketing savvy, can help with get more people involved in gardening. And I think too, if some of us who are really plant geeks at heart, and who are in the industry, we tend to think that everybody wants to know everything there is to know about plants. And I think we have to back off of that a little bit and just realize that, just help people one step at a time. Learn one thing, be successful at it, and then help that gardener grow to the next level, no pun intended, of trying the next thing. And I don't want gardeners to get discouraged either. You know what? I got as big a brown thumb as the next person. I got to tell you. I kill plants all the time, and that's okay. That's perfect, because now you can just go put that out in your compost pile and for helping your soil. So it's not a bad thing. We all do it, even the best of us. Tell him. How many times did you kill plants in the nursery?
I excel at it.
Yeah. So we all do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, that's good to hear from the pros. It's part of the process. Yeah.
That's right.
It's a learning experience all the time.
It is. And you know what? I think too, it's all about trial and error. If you go and plant something in your yard and it doesn't work there, dig it up and put it in another spot. That's okay. I've interviewed some people who've done it. It's all trial and error. No different than any other thing you do. If you want to learn about your car, you start to tinker with it, and you learn one, you gain confidence, and then you go on to the next thing. It's all trial and error. And that's where your neighbors or your master gardeners or whatever can be kind of your best friend, because then you've got that person that you can reach out to and say, well, how did you do this? You can find that garden mentor to help you along, so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that they made. And they're more, this is the gardening world is a very giving community, and they're more than happy to say, hey, here's what I did, and here's how I did it, and boast about or be proud about, as they should have, of what they did and what they accomplished.
Awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. Hey, Robert, who do you go to talk to when you have some gardening questions?
Oh, this guy right here.
Patrick Long, he knows his grandpa.
You got the guru there to
That's right.
Yeah.
consult with. Excellent. Well, Bran, I was thinking, since you're not always in a conservatory and not always at a trade expo, do you want to just give us a little rundown on what you're up to, and what's your agenda?
Wow.
What's your schedule?
Well, I'm very tired, as you can tell. There's just so much. By the time I get back to my room, I can't even sleep, because I'm thinking of all the things I learned that day with these landscape and the nursery experts here. Well, Maria knows. She was here last year. Gosh, it's really cool. The buzz lately has been about bees and pollinators, and just working with what we have in the environment, and just earth friendly. And so anyways, I could talk all day.
And the other thing too, I think too, for within the industry, it's a great year. There's actually shortages out there of plant material, because we were in that economic downturn, and people couldn't afford to plant rows out in the nursery of things. And so now there's going to be shortages that are going to be coming about, especially in that tree market. Which is okay,
Right. There's some great people out there. If you follow the hashtag GLTE, tomorrow's the last day, and just see what's going on up here in Michigan. It's pretty cool. Thanks, Adam.
No, thank you. Well, I just want to thank Robert and Maria and Jim for joining us and taking the time. It's fantastic to hear from you. Bren, did you want to kind of wrap us up for the evening?
Yeah, thanks so much, guys, for joining in. This was really awesome. I got all three of you there, the family portrait going on. That's cool. And if anybody's listening tonight or following along on YouTube, you can follow us on hashtag Garden Chatter, or come on to connectsharegrow.com and sign up for the newsletter, or adamcortell.com, and you'll find out what we have coming up in the next few weeks here.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you very much for having us. I just want to say, too, if they do go to UpShootHort.com, up in the upper left-hand corner, we do have a newsletter that I put out, so if they're interested, they can sign up for that. And then, as well, we are on, we've got an Upshoot Facebook page if they'd like to follow us on that. I also have a Gardenpedia page for my new book that just came out. And I'm on, social media, on all the Pinterest, Instagram, all that, on either as Maria Zampini or under Upshoot. So I'm always happy to connect with people in that way.
Thank you.
Right.